Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Augusto Argandoña Fine Arts. Anytime in this narrated tutorial, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. If you want to learn about my virtual classes or want to see my paintings, you may do so on my website at aafinearts.com. This tutorial is about how to paint reflections in water. This particular location is a very picturesque area in Arizona. I was there on vacation a couple of times. This particular location happens to be also in the Verde Valley region of Arizona. It's very close to Sedona. Anyway, without much ado, you will start with this tutorial. I'm using a 140-pound cold press paper, bright white. It's my paper of choice. I use different brands of paper, but I like this paper. And I use a variety of pigments, although I kind of stay with pretty much one type of pigment, and you're gonna see me use flat brushes as well as round brushes, but I am more partial to the flat brushes. That's my favorite type of brush, and I don't really care much whether it's natural hairs or synthetic hairs or anything like that. I have some very costly brushes. I also have some that are very, very reasonable, and frankly, I do just as good with the very reasonably priced brushes. So anyway, I'm going to start with this demonstration, this tutorial. It was very sunny. When I took this photograph, it was a very sunny day, and it was quite warm. I was there in the summer, and so there's going to be quite a bit of white or almost white in the rocks, but the reflection is what will be really interesting. So I will start by adding a little bit of water to the sky area. Like that, not much. Just it was kind of a hazy day actually, but it was hot. But coming from living in Florida, the heat didn't bother me as much as actually the dryness. That's what was kind of uncomfortable. Okay, I'm gonna bring in a little bit of cobalt blue on that wet paper. Like I said, not much because it was kind of a hazy day. And whatever the paper is wet, which is most of the areas of the paper, it will be kind of light. When this paper is beginning to dry, it will be a little bit crispier. But that's about it for the well, this paper is going to dry. It's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to increase some of this, especially over here. It will be a contrast with the red rocks. So okay, that's it. Also, while that's drying, I'm going to add a little bit of water to this lower area, like that, and I bring the same colors, but this time I'm going to also bring some ultramarine blue for this, especially this lower area. Like that. And I'm going to bring in some of the cobalt blue mixed here because I'm going to have to I'm going to also bring a little bit of manganese blue to take the red out of that ultramarine. There, like that. Get rid of this line. There. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. So now I'm going to change brushes to a round brush. Bring some, I don't want to touch the sky yet, you know, the areas around the sky, because I don't want the colors to bleed. I'm going to add a little bit of water there, but primarily this area. I think I'm going to paint this on dry paper, this area on dry paper. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make a nice mixture of light yellow ochre with rose madder. Yellow ochre and rose madder will give me the really beautiful color here for the sunny side of this rock. Leaving some white areas, especially at the very top. Like that. I'm going to increase the yellow ochre in some areas. Like that. Also, I'm going to bring in some clean burnt sienna, not ultramarine, burnt sienna. Like that there. Like that. A little bit more of the burnt sienna and the rose madder. Get that reddy stone. That. And some of the white, leave white areas for the tops of some of those rocks. This is the base color for now. Like that. Some of the rocks over here on the edge of the water. I'm going to leave the top of these rocks white, except over there. Like that. Okay, so now I'm going to start, I'm going to bring a little bit more of the burnt sienna with the rose madder. A little bit of yellow ochre also into some of this area. So I'm waiting for this area to dry because I don't want to paint anything there when the paper's wet close to the sky. Like that. There. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. I'll go back to it later. Let's see, how is this doing? Okay, now I can do. I'll bring some water over here. We're not touching the sky area yet. It's still a little damp. Bring some water over here, like that. And I'm going to use a little bit of mineral violet with the cobalt blue that I have in my palette, and can bring some of that here. A little bit more of the cobalt blue. There, that's better. Bring that color like that. Some areas over here. And then in fact, I'm going to do this with a flat brush. Also going to bring in some of the burnt sienna and rosemary, and combine it into that color right here and start doing some of these background areas of these rocks. Like that. Bring some of those color over here too. Right to the top. I'm not going to do much there. I'm going to leave it like that because there's another color coming there. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the burnt sienna, especially in this area. Now I'm going to change brushes. Bring more of the burnt sienna. Like that. There. And I'm going to stop it right there because I'm going to bring some brown matter. I'm going to use some mineral violet instead. Mineral violet and a little bit of sepia. And come over here and add a little bit of that darker color of these rocks that are over here behind this pile of red rocks. Like that. Bring some of those colors over here by the edge of the water. There, like that. A little bit over here. There. Also, I'm bring in some ultramarine blue mixture with the brown matter. Start darkening some of these areas. There's some rocks over here too. Different browns, different colors. Like that. There. I'm going to do a little bit of that over here. Like that. All right. So now, before that dries, I'm going to make a mixture of raw amber and cerulean blue. And there's some vegetation over here. I'm going to do this on the damp paper. Very soft. And like that. There. Some kind of cascading down. A little bit more cerulean blue. The greenery, some of the greenery is kind of a sage color. Well, you know, it's probably sage anyway, so. There, like that. I'm gonna bring some of that towards the sky because there will be other vegetation here too. like that. And how much? A little bit more of those colors. Raw amber now with the cerulean blue, but now I'm going to bring in some Payne's gray into that mixture and start darkening some of that vegetation, get it kind of soft. I don't want to competing with this area that's going to be really sharp. I'm going to bring a little bit of that dark over here. There, like that, there we are. A little darker areas here. Increase the value of some of these colors. I'm going to put a little bit of that over here too, on dry paper. And now I'm going to start blocking off these rocks, making them stand out. Like that. There, like that. But also going to bring in another color. I'm going to use the, well, I think I'm going to use the raw amber with the aureolin yellow and the cerulean blue. I'll bring some of the other type of green over here. Like that. Bring a little bit of that color over here too. While the paper is still damp. There, like that. A little bit over here. A little bit on this side. There. Just enough. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in more Payne's gray, but this time I'm going to also add some undersea green to darken some of these areas. Paper is drying over here. Now I can start blocking some of these rocks. There. And using that green to do that. Okay, same thing over here. I'm going to start darkening some of the green, building those rocks there. There we are. I'm going to just leave it like that. Let that dry. And then on this other side, I'm going to use some more raw amber, quite a bit of the aureolin yellow and cerulean blue, and get an entirely different type of green here. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little bit of water to make some of this area soft. Like that. Not all areas, some areas soft. And where the paper is dry, that's where the detail of this vegetation will be. Like that. Come over all the way over here. Like this. This is dry. Combine some of these colors and get some of the detail of some of these trees in the background. They're like this. And come over here and outline those rocks And there's some other rocks over here that are kind of white or has some shades of blue or violet. So I'm gonna do those also. But I'm gonna leave this like that. And I'm gonna increase the value of some of those, that green. And using the brush this way with the side of the brush, I'm gonna create a little bit of the texturing of some of this vegetation. There, like that. Like I said, only on the perimeter. There we are. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry, but I'm going to also bring more of the raw umber, mix it with the undersea green this time. Quite a bit of the undersea green, some sepia, some Payne's gray, very dark mixture. And come over here and really start blocking this rock. Like that. But also I'm going to add a little bit more water into this area and darken that area. While I'm doing the shaping of those rocks by the edge of the water. I'm also going to bring a different type of green, permanent sap green. Like that. Do another level of this greenery. More sepia, this area, make it darker, and combine it with that permanent sap green and get the shapes of these rocks that were by the edge of the water. And all the vegetation that's here on that dry, on damp paper actually. Like that. Add a little bit more water and start minimizing some of the effect of this green. There, like that. I'm also going to bring some ultramarine blue, cool down some of these areas. There, like that. And the raw umber. There. A little bit of the sepia with the Payne's gray. Darken some of these areas here. And also some of the other areas over here are going to be darker. Like that. I'm also going to bring some darker areas over here. Yeah, like that. But soften this a little bit. And shape those rocks. There. Like that. There. All right. And before the paper dries over here, I'm going to take a pocket knife and do some tree trunks and branches. And that. Not much. I'm gonna let that dry. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean my brush really good, and I'm gonna darken some of these rocks and add a little bit more texture to it. Use some burnt sienna, a little bit of mineral violet. Yeah, a little bit of texture and a little bit of color. Like that, doing some texture with my finger too. There. Like that. Not much. There. And this area, I'm going to have to really start darkening it. The shadow side. There, like that. But leave a little bit of the white for the tops of the rocks. Except on the right hand side, where it will be much darker. I'm going to bring some sepia and that mineral violet, especially for these rocks that are by the edge of the water. Like that. Make some much darker. Bring some ultramarine blue into that mixture with some brown matter. These rocks over here are going to be by the edge of the water. They're going to be very dark. There, like that. There. A little bit of texture in there. And now I'm going to clean my brush, bring some yellow ochre, very bright, and brighten up some of these rocks. Burnt sienna. Yeah, like that. Bring some of the darker color over here by the edge of the water. bring some rosemary and give it a little bit of a different touch to this. There, a little bit more on the reddish side. There, like that. Give some texture, pick up some color, and let that dry. Like that. I'm going to bring some brown sienna over here. Get with a little bit more water and soften those rocks. The burnt sienna picks up, kind of breaks the color over here. It's really beautiful. See, it's breaking the other color, the base color. There. Now I'm going to start lifting some pigment. There we are. There. There. All right, now let that dry. Now while that's drying, I'm going to pick up a little bit of violet, a little bit of ultramarine, yeah, a little bit of ultramarine, not much. I'll come over here and do some of these rocks. Leave a little bit of white for the top of the rocks. And like that. Also, bring a little bit of the brown sienna. Not much, just a little touch, that's all. And that's all it takes. I'm gonna wait for that to dry. In the meantime, I will take a flat brush. Come over here, this is dry. And I'm gonna wet this entire area, lower area. My board is at approximately 15 degrees, so I'm relying on gravity. Put quite a bit of water here, except in this lower area. Like that. Make sure this area is saturated with water. There. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the moisture from my brush and lightly touch the paper and remove some of the moisture from the paper. Then I will bring in some aureole in yellow with permanent subgreen and come over here and do this, water. Here like that. Tilt the paper a little bit. I'm going to bring up some undersea green into that mixture. More of the permanent subgreen mixture. Add a little touch of ultramarine blue to that and darken this area. And bring the reflection. Barely touch that red rock there and over here too. And let the paper is beginning to dry, so I gotta work fast now. Bring more of those colors. A little bit of sepia. Especially over here. I'm going to bring a little bit of Payne's gray there too, before the paper dries too much. There, like that. Something over, a little bit more water. Payne's gray, sepia, and the green over here also. There. Bring it all the way down here, and same thing over here. Then some of the ultramarine, and come over here and start doing on the dry paper, start doing the movement of the water. Like that. Okay, maybe a little bit more of the green there, here, like that. I'm gonna let that dry, but before I do anything else, I'm gonna bring it more sepia with the green and the Payne's gray and really darken this a little bit more. And actually connect that into the trees. There. Let gravity take care of it. Like that. Bring some of that dark color here too. Like that. And I'm going to clean my brush really good and pick up some burnt sienna and a little bit of brown matter. I come over here and before this dries, drops those colors here on wet paper. Like that. More brown sienna. There. A little bit more brown matter for these reddish parts. Like that. All on dry, on wet paper. Sienna, like that, and come over here and start doing those colors and the movement of the water. I'm gonna tilt my paper now, like that. There. At the same token, same time, I'm gonna bring in some Payne's gray. And do the same thing here, just barely touch the paper, like that, and let it run. There we are. That's how you do those reflections. Now, we'll get some of this cobalt blue with a little bit of the green that's in my palette. And come over here and a little bit more water in my brush. Yeah. There. I'm going to let that dry. While that's drying, I'm going to pick up some brown matter, a little bit of cobalt blue, and do the crevices and the detail on these rocks. Bring those colors right about the edge of the water, combine it with that green, because all that is wet. Yeah, like that. A bit more water in my brush. Yeah, like this. Change brushes, pick up quite a bit of burnt sienna, and do the same thing here. There. Let that dry. And before this dries completely, I'm going to bring more burnt sienna right here. Start doing a little bit of that effect. Same thing here. That. Do the same over here. Pick up some of the movement in the water, like that. Same thing over here. There. And that's it. I'm going to take a flat brush, remove the moisture, and pick up some color, give a little bit more detail and value contrast on these rocks, but mostly softening some of these rocks. There. That's it. Like that. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue and do the finish of this, the detailing for these rocks that are over here. Yeah, like that. And bring a little bit more gray to this area that's in the shade. There we are. I'm gonna let that dry. And I'm also going to pick up some burnt sienna and add a little bit more texture here. There. Okay. And lastly, with a thirsty brush, I'm going to start picking up some of the color there. Like that. So do the same thing over here with the thirsty brush. And over here, I'm gonna just leave this the way they are. There. And the painting is finished. So I will remove this tape, bring a dark board, and you will see how this looks like. But before I do that, I'm going to take a hard bristle brush, and this is dry, yeah. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of edge on this rock over here. There, like that, just barely. Okay, I'm going to remove this. That beautiful area of Arizona, the Verde Valley. Verde Valley, Arizona. I'm going to minimize it. And there you are, with those beautiful reflections, the greens from the vegetation, some of the red reflections from the rock, some light colors here, some dark colors on the shadow side, very soft greens, soft rock color, a little bit more detail, greenery, trees and so forth, but not much. Mainly is this area over here. That's the interesting part. I hope you enjoyed this painting, and please visit my website at aafinearts.com. Also, I would appreciate, in addition to subscribing to my channel, I would appreciate your comments in regards to this video, and or for that matter, any of the other videos in my channel. Thank you again. Until next time.